to the Golden State Warriors News Today channel. Take the opportunity to leave that like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go to today's news.
The New York Jets desperately need to change the team's mindset after a disastrous season. But what if the answer to this transformation is already in the track record of new head coach Aaron Glenn? If there's a stark contrast between two franchises right now, it's between the Jets and the Lions. While Detroit shined with a historic 15-win campaign, solidifying one of the strongest cultures in the NFL, the Jets sank to a disappointing 5-12, accompanied by shattered morale. Now, under Glenn's leadership, rebuilding the Jets' locker room hinges on a crucial question: how to create a new winning identity. A logical solution would be to bring in players who already understand the spirit he helped build in Detroit. And one name emerges as a perfect piece for this transformation: Levi Onwuzurike. The Lions' defensive tackle, who is hitting free agency after his best season in the league, has been identified by Bleacher Report as a priority target for the Jets. Christopher Knox highlighted that the team needs reinforcements on the defensive line, especially with the possible departures of Haason Reddick, Javon Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, and Leki Fodu. Onwuzurike not only fills this gap but also brings valuable knowledge of Glenn's defensive philosophy. The 26-year-old player recorded 28 tackles, 13 quarterback hits, 1.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble in 2024, showing improvement just as he seeks a new contract. His potential alongside Quinnen Williams could form one of the most dominant interior defensive duos in the AFC. Aaron Glenn knows better than anyone the raw talent Onwuzurike possesses and the impact he can have on the defense. If the Jets manage to sign him, they could be taking a significant step toward turning their fortunes around and perhaps even changing the franchise's narrative for the coming years. And you, fan, do you think Glenn can recruit former Lions players to shape a new DNA for the Jets? Share your opinion, and don't forget, if you want more news and analysis on the Lions, subscribe to the Lions News Fan Report channel and turn on notifications. If there's one player who could symbolize the Jets' transition into a more competitive team, it's Levi Onwuzurike. His NFL journey hasn't been linear, facing challenges like injuries and the time needed to adapt to the league. But under Aaron Glenn's guidance, he has shown flashes of the talent that made him a second-round pick in the 2021 draft. Despite having big names like Quinnen Williams, the Jets' defense struggled to create consistent backfield pressure and stop the running game. Bringing in Onwuzurike could be a crucial reinforcement to address these issues, adding versatility and physicality to the defensive interior. This move also raises an interesting question: are the Jets trying to replicate the Lions' formula for success? What Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes built in Detroit didn't happen overnight. It was a process that required developing a winning mindset, finding players who bought into the team's philosophy, and patiently nurturing the right talent. Glenn is part of that DNA, and now has the chance to implement it in New York. If the plan is to bring in former Lions players to accelerate this transition, Onwuzurike might just be the first of many. And that makes sense because to build a new culture in a broken team like the Jets, there's nothing better than players who already know how to win. Now, looking at it from the Lions' perspective, losing Onwuzurike wouldn't be a devastating blow, but it would certainly have an impact. His development in 2024 showed that he could be a valuable piece in the defensive rotation, especially if he continues to grow. With the Lions' defense increasingly solidifying itself as one of the most respected in the NFL, keeping key pieces like Aiden Hutchinson, Alim McNeill, and Jack Campbell is a priority. But losing a talent like Onwuzurike to a team trying to replicate Detroit's success adds an extra layer of intrigue to this potential move. For Jets fans, this could be the signing that finally signals a turning point for a franchise that hasn't made the playoffs since 2010. But for Lions fans, the question remains: are we witnessing Glenn's first steps toward turning the Jets into a rebranded version of Detroit? And you, Lions fan, do you think losing Onwuzurike would be a problem for Detroit's defense? Could the Jets finally find their way with Glenn in charge? Drop your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Lions News Fan Report for more updates on the team. Are the Jets trying to copy the Lions? Good luck with that. As a Lions fan, I see the Jets' approach with some skepticism. Yes, it's undeniable that Aaron Glenn did an incredible job in Detroit, helping shape a defense that became one of the most respected in the league. But thinking that bringing in Onwuzurike and maybe other former Lions players will turn the Jets into a competitive team overnight? That's not how it works. The culture that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes built in Detroit didn't just come from signings. It was a process of patience, hard work, and a committed locker room. Who's to say that these Lions players will be able to replicate that mentality in the Jets, a franchise that has been synonymous with frustration for over a decade? Would losing Onwuzurike be a loss for the Lions? Now, to be honest, losing Levi Onwuzurike wouldn't be the end of the world for the Lions, but it's definitely not something I'd like to see. He finally showed signs of growth in 2024 and seems to be becoming the player we expected when he was drafted. He may not be an elite name, but he contributes a lot to the defensive rotation and provides depth to a unit that already has Aiden Hutchinson and Alan McNeil as cornerstones. If he leaves, the Lions will have to find a worthy replacement in free agency or the 2025 draft. And honestly, I trust Brad Holmes way more to find pieces that fit our defense than I do in the Jets trying to copy the Lions' success. Can the Jets succeed with Glenn? Don't get me wrong, I root for Aaron Glenn's success. He was one of the key figures in the Lions' defensive growth, and I'd love to see him succeed as a head coach. But the Jets are a historically mismanaged team that always seems to find a way to mess up any good opportunity. If they manage to sign on Onwuzurike and other former Lions, it could be a first step. But it's not just about bringing in players who know Glenn. The real question is, are the Jets truly ready to embrace this winning mentality? I doubt it. In the end, if the Jets think that simply signing a few former Lions players will elevate them, they might be making a huge mistake. Culture isn't bought, it's built. And Detroit has proven that it knows how to do that better than anyone. Now, I want to hear from you, Lions fans. If Onwuzurike leaves, will it be a problem for our defense? And can the Jets finally become a competitive team with Glenn? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget, if you want more Lions content, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report and turn on notifications.